Let me get this out of the way. Everybody, welcome to Virtual Career Tuesday. Today we are very excited to have HEARST Magazine joining us, and we've got three people from HEARST who are going to tell us all about the company, all about the opportunities. We do have a PowerPoint that they're going to show for the students that are on. Please know that you are allowed to ask questions like Jenna. I definitely want to give you and Aiden a chance to be able to talk to the employer as we get going. But as you know, this is designed to be an informal presentation so that you can get to know not only the employer in their industry, but also as individuals, what it's like to work there, the idea of what you would be doing and how you would do that and what kind of skills would present best. Now, I'm going to ask this question because mine's doing things again. Is the sound okay?
Not great.
Not great.
I can hear okay.
Okay. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce Megan. Do I want me to introduce you and then you can introduce Mike and Ruby? Okay, because maybe my sound will get better. So.
And can I share my screen with everyone as well?
Absolutely.
All right. So let me get this up.
Let me put myself on mute for a moment here.
Aiden and Jenna, since you're the only one students on, you immediately have jobs with us if you want them. Just let us know.
All right. Let me see. Can you see this all right, everyone? Mike, is that coming through good?
Yep.
All right. So my name is Megan Hughes. I am one of the recruiters here at HEARST. And we really wanted to walk you through a little bit about the HEARST corporate organization. I'll quickly run through that. But then specific to the Connecticut market, our HEARST Connecticut Media Group, which we'll get into. And we really appreciate everyone joining today. We're excited to be here. Oops. All right. So some of you may know the HEARST name, the HEARST family, I should say, comes to mind. But a lot of you probably know our specific brands. More so than ever, like our magazines, Oprah Magazine, Elle, Harper's Bazaar, our entertainment and broadcasting stations, A&E, History Channel, local news stations across the country that we own. We are owner of about 360 different businesses. So we like to say we are one of the nation's largest diversified media and information service company. Anything from, again, entertainment and broadcasting to newspapers like the HEARST Connecticut Media Group, the Connecticut Post, Stamford Advocate, to a variety of other businesses as well, make up HEARST as a whole. Fun facts, in 1887, HEARST was founded. So we're quite an old company that dates back, but William Randolph Hearst acquired the San Francisco Examiner back in 1887, and we are still one of the largest privately owned employers in New York City. Ooh. So who am I? Like I said, I'm one of the recruiters here at HEARST. I recruit for our newspaper division specifically, and I focus on the HEARST Connecticut Media Group along with our Albany Times Union in Albany, New York. And then our full-fledged markets are spread throughout the country. I've been here for about 7.5 years, which is crazy to think about. I did start off as an executive assistant and I worked my way into recruiting and now focusing obviously with HEARST newspapers. Honestly, HEARST has always been evolving and there seems to be something new in the 7.5 years that I've been here. It's always kind of looking for the next best thing, striving to be, within the space of digital, if it's acquiring a new publication, if it's launching new products. And of course, with that comes hiring new teams and divisions, which really helps me with my job.
And Megan, you have on your LinkedIn, Hughes Flying Service. What is that?
So my father, great question, actually. My father and my grandfather started Hughes Flying Service back in the day. It was a charter corporation. It's still actually going, and it's a private owned charter management of planes, along with charter service for a small airline. But my family is very ingrained in the aviation space, actually.
I love that.
Thank you for that. That's funny. So we are today going to focus on Hearst newspapers. Since I specifically recruit for them, this is the business that we'll focus on today. Hearst newspapers is comprised of 24 daily publications, along with 52 weekly publications. So this includes anything from the San Francisco Times in California to the Houston Chronicle and San Antonio Express News in Texas, and then the Connecticut Media Group, which actually comprised of 8 daily publications and 14 weekly publications, which Mike will take you through in a little bit. We employ over 750 account executives, so sales reps across the country. And their job, just to identify that, is to sell advertising and digital marketing to local businesses. So ad space within our websites, our local news sites, and marketing services of local businesses. We also have 300 marketers that we employ. That's anyone that would help develop or fulfill the services, the digital marketing and advertising services. And then we also have about 850 journalists, of course, our local newsroom, very important, across our communities, serving and local reporting in those areas. So next, I am going to hand it off to President and Publisher Mike DeLuca and our Editor-in-Chief, Wendy Metcalf. Both of them were recently featured in Hartford's Business Journal Power 50, which highlights top leaders in the media and business space. They are two fantastic individuals that I get to work with who are truly passionate about the local media and news space. So I'm going to hand it off to Mike now.
Yeah. And I will say in that Power 50, Wendy and I tied for 40th. They gave us the 40th spot together. So I like to think I was 39 and a half and she was.
There we go. He was 40.
Anyway, thank you all for having us today. It's always really great to talk to students and prospective people who might be interested in a career in either journalism or sales or somewhere in media. As Megan said, I'm the president and publisher of the group. I've been doing it for about 2 years. However, I have been at Hearst for coming up on 9 years in a variety of different roles across Hearst. You see some of my alumni there of Yahoo, AOL, Groupon. I do this because I do love Hearst. It's the best company that I've ever worked for. I'm so passionate about what we do. The company has been tremendous, especially over the past year during the pandemic, where so many businesses were struggling so much, and Hearst really stepped up to the plate. No furloughs, no layoffs. Constantly helping our employees with whether it's extra paid time off, maternity, whatever it might be. Hearst has just been an absolutely amazing company. And for any of the students out there, whether you choose Hearst or whether you choose something else, choose to go with a really, really good, strong company that has really great values, because that is going to be something that will pay dividends for you down the line. Okay, Megan, next. All right, so I don't want to bore you with too many of the statistics here. 1755, that's fantastic. None of us were alive, but that's when we started. We do talk a lot about, Megan mentioned newspapers. It is in our name, Hearst Newspapers, but I really think you should think about this as a media company. There's nothing wrong with newspapers, and we keep the name as an ode to our tradition, but we are very, very much focused on the digital media space. You're going to hear us talk a lot more about unique visitors and digital impact versus how many people we, throw a paper at the door at every single day. So again, as a younger person thinking about their next career, if you're considering Hearst, don't think of it as a newspaper. Think about it as a media company. Go ahead, Megan. So in terms of who we are and where we are, you see the map of Connecticut. You probably see the little black dot of stores on the right-hand side where you guys are. The colored shaded areas are just sort of signifying where our current, where our reach is now. And I shouldn't say our reach, but what our our demographic coverage model is, or our geographic coverage model is. You see we're kind of got about half the state covered. When you add in Connecticut Magazine, which is a statewide publication, then we have the whole state covered. Dozens of hyperlocal sites. So again, to the point that I was making before, each of our sort of newspaper masthead or brands have along with it a hyperlocal site. So if you read, for instance, the Connecticut Post, there's the ctpost.com and so forth. That is obviously what the future is and where we are focusing the majority of our efforts today. We also have a great app. If you haven't downloaded the CT Insider app, I would do so, and I'd appreciate it if you would do so. It's a really, really great app that allows you to localize your experience so that you see the news that's most interesting to you. As Megan mentioned, we do have the 8 daily newspapers, 14 weekly newspapers. Game Time CT, you might be familiar with. It's really our sports website, and it's really primarily focused on high school sports today. You have probably seen, if you haven't, you should soon. Wendy and her team have really made a push into UConn athletics over the last few months. We've always covered UConn athletics, but now in a way that is really, I won't steal Wendy's thunder. I'm sure she'll talk about it, but it's really, really a great experience that we're created for UConn fans. And then I mentioned Connecticut Magazine before, which is a little bit more of a lifestyle magazine that covers the entire state.
So next up, I want to have Wendy.
I didn't get to do a closing. All right. Well, anyway, so that's it for me. I want all of you wonderful students out there. Hopefully there's more than 2 of you at this point, but if not, I'm sure the video will go out and many people will get this. If you live in Connecticut, you want to stay in Connecticut, you want to be in media, as much as I respect the Hartford Courant and the New London Day and all these other newspaper companies out there, I truly think that we are the best, and we offer a tremendous opportunity for young people to come into our organization and go through our training program. There's a big opportunity to move up. As Megan mentioned before, she started out as an administrative assistant, and now look what she's doing. And, we have got a tremendous sort of effort going on around diversity and equality, and that's big to us too. Mm-hmm. And so I hope one day I'll see you, and hopefully it'll be in an office, maybe, God willing, and we'll see where we go from there. So with that, I'll hand it off to number 40, Wendy Metcalf. Wendy.
Given that this is on the record, I won't rebuttal that. Thanks for the introduction. It's really nice to meet you virtually today. I'm pleased at any point to be able to take some time to talk about the job that we love so much, and talking to students about the career choice that I've made in the hopes that it might inspire you to give journalism a chance. I think if you like asking questions, you like making your community better through good work, you're fascinated by everything digital, then this could be a place for you. I think that journalism's challenges and, the pressure on us to constantly evolve just makes it that much more exciting. It creates opportunity. We have to be agile. We have to be innovative. So I've really enjoyed my sort of 2 decades plus in this space. One of the things I mentioned here is, what prompted me to get involved in this. And similar to some of you on the call, you might be very involved in your university. You may be involved in athletics. And so what I was doing, I've played a lot of basketball in my day, and I never saw the local cable television network attending the games. So I phoned in on a live phone-in show, and I said, "Hey, you missed our game. Why don't you come and, cover it? It's really great to get female sports coverage." And long story short, I joined the network as a volunteer, where I stayed for a few years, and it just gave me a taste for the excitement that journalism offers. If we move to the next slide, I'll give you a little bit of a tour of the newsroom. So to tell you a little bit about us, we are a group of community publications. But we have big ambitions. And because we own so many different products throughout Connecticut, one of the first things I did when I joined over a year ago was really put our foot on the gas of expanding our reach. And Mike had mentioned one of those areas is Yukon sports. You know, we see a real appetite for that type of content. Our readers are highly engaged. So we want to take that out with our existing core footprint and make it a service that's available to readers across Connecticut. So what you're seeing here is, you know, we can reach across the state with certain content, but there's also, you know, the very big commitment of ours to serve local audiences and really try to tell them the stories that matter in their communities. So it's a balance of both of those things. If we move on to the next slide, and this is just talking a little bit more about the types of products, which Mike did hit on. But this is one of the exciting things about journalism. You know, you could be building something for a glossy magazine. It may be an app. It may be looking at a desktop view of something. It may be a mobile view of the same story. We also have the biggest local sports website in Connecticut. So there are a variety of different platforms, dozens and dozens of them, but really they're anchored in quality journalism. And the big part of what we do is ask why. You know, what can we tell the reader about this story, and in a way that they can understand it, you know, in a very simple way, so that we're doing our job of filtering really good information in a clear way. But also, what's the experience we bring them? You know, how can we improve the digital experience by some of the investments that we're making? And I'll talk about that probably in one of the slides coming up. The other thing that we really try to do at Hearst Connecticut is invest in our team. You know, the stronger the team is, the more they're going to enjoy the work that they do, the better the work is going to be, and the more that the readers will benefit from that work. So one of the things that we do is we've created like a training program where every month it's either peer-to-peer training. Sometimes we bring experts in to train on like data journalism, which is really something that's gripping us right now. But in addition to that, we try to operate in you know, an environment of transparency and trust. You know, it's you know, the high performance but high trust in a newsroom is integral to our success. So one of the things that we do every 4 weeks, I jump on with my team and I do an Ask Me Anything. And so it may be me presenting to them on a piece of the business, but I take any questions that they have. And there's just a huge togetherness and family when it comes to journalism. And that's something that's really kept me, you know, engaged in what we do every day, all day. The other thing that I'll talk a little bit about later is the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Council that we have. This is important not just within Hearst, Connecticut, but in the journalism that we do. So I'll talk a little bit about that in the coming slides as well. We'll go to the next one. So I've talked a little bit about this already. One of the other things that's mentioned here is that we also have like a mentorship program. So a lot of the opportunities for people who are entering our newsroom for the first time, and it's not solely, you know, for new staff, but it's mentorship possibilities both within our newsroom, but the extended Hearst newspaper division. There's a lot of opportunity there. We also have a really robust fellowship program, which is hugely exciting. And, you know, one of our fellows, for example, is actually running one of our publications right now. So we're very, you know, we try to think very big about the opportunities that might be available to people who are joining our team. We'll go to the next one. So this is just, again, just talking a little bit about this. I am very proud to be the executive sponsor of this group. And like I say, there are sort of 4 key areas that we focus on. One of them is recruitment, you know, making sure that we are getting in front of diverse groups of candidates and making sure that, you know, not only are we improving the diversity of our newsroom, because that's where great ideas are found, better understanding is found, but also in, you know, making sure that we have diverse sources, that we are reaching communities we didn't serve before. So there's been a real dramatic, you know, continued investment in this area, but with the founding of this group, we're seeing really great progress. We're also involved in partnerships with outside groups. We are partnering, for example, with one university to hold workshops to sort of share some of the knowledge that we built in the industry to help their journalism students. And then in addition, we're also holding, like, for example, you're going to see news of a women's history webinar. So we're going to have some experts joining us, and we're going to extend an invitation to readers, and you're all more than welcome to join us to talk about, innovation in that space and to help inspire. So things like that have been real takeaways where we're driving change in this area, and we're very committed to.
All right. Thank you, Wendy. So I think now, Kathy, if we wanted to go through some of the positions that we may have, or if we want to open up for Q&A, we can do that. I know you mentioned you had a couple questions for us as well.
Right. Yep. So I love the fact that you gave the overview from different points of view, right? And Mike, the fact that you started this, with sort of that relaxed feeling of like, Jenna and Aiden, you've got jobs already, right? It makes it feel like when they ask questions and join events like this, that you're real people, right? So, I mean, with the roles that you have, vice president of content, president and publisher, when you make this more relatable to the students, it changes the whole dynamic of the roles that you're talking about. So one of the things that we'd like to do, like on these virtual Career Tuesdays, Megan, to your point, is we'd love to have some insight, for Jenna and Aiden, for all the other students, if they want to be able to join HEARST, aside from like critically looking at a job description and understanding sales, and Wendy, when you were talking about being agile and innovative, what does a student need to show you in order to be a candidate for the job? Like when you're looking at a resume, what are you looking for?
So go on, Mike.
Oh, I'm sorry, Megan. You look at more resumes than I do. So why don't you give your?
Well, I think definitely taking the initiative, this is sort of basic, right? But aligning that resume specific to that career path that you want, right? And really focusing, if it is advertising, media sales, showcasing and highlighting that media digital marketing knowledge or that cold calling or prospecting skill set. I think anyone that would come in at an entry-level position and be passionate, someone who is that go-getter, someone who is willing and wanting to learn, is something that we definitely look at from an entry standpoint. I think Mike can touch on this as well a little bit more.
Yeah, I think one piece of advice I would give is pay attention to a cover letter. A cover letter is something that doesn't necessarily come along with many resumes. And, I have a couple of sons who are probably, Jenna and company's age, that are going through this right now. And I'm helping them with their resumes, and I'm seeing, Leslie's Pool Supplies, whatever, summer camp. It doesn't, those types of jobs don't tell the employer really who you are. And a lot of times, because you are students, depending on what your family situation or whatever, maybe you weren't in a position to do an unpaid internship, or you couldn't land one, whatever it might be. And so in that case, if somebody sent me a cover letter that came along with a resume, and it really spoke to the type of person you are and talked about the passion you have, maybe you did some research on the company and were able to cite a couple of things about the company to prove that you are taking this seriously and you've done your homework and research. And then just as you just mentioned, Kathy, be human. Wendy and I and Megan, we were all sitting in our dorm room one time doing these too, and so we know how it feels. And what we're looking for is not just somebody who's smart and wants to work hard, but also somebody who's a cultural fit. And part of what makes companies really good is having a culture and a team of people who are really just good human beings and fun and have personalities or bring diversity. And so, in a world where you probably don't have a 6-page resume with, all kinds of different experiences, set yourself aside by spending time on that cover letter and really telling your future employer what they're going to get if they hire you.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, Mike, the great thing about this is that when we do these sessions and we ask employers that question, very often we'll get an employer that'll say, "Oh, don't bother, we don't read them." But HEARST is a group of storytellers, right?
Yeah,
so you're telling the student.
As you say that, Kathy, I would also say obviously you should submit electronically. Also take the time to go to the post office and put a stamp on that letter and send it to the hiring manager, because, people are gonna, we get 1,000 emails a day. We don't necessarily get a handwritten letter on our desks every single day. And so at the very least, you're going to ensure that you're differentiating yourself, and you're also making sure that you have a fail safe if for some reason that email slips through the cracks with, the hundreds of emails that we all get every day.
Right. That's great insight. And what we usually talk to the students about is a cover letter that's effective is a cover letter that could never be interchanged to any other company, right? It has to be true to the job you're applying for. It has to tell the HEARST story at the same time that it's telling your own story and your connection to it.
100%.
So thank you. Thank you for sharing that.
Sure.
Wendy, looked like you had got something to say.
Yeah, no, I love how you said that, we are a group of storytellers, so that cover letter, it is definitely something we look at in editorial as well. My advice to journalists is that, now more than ever, you have your own platforms to do journalism. So experiment and don't be afraid of failure in that space. You can grow your own Instagram account. You can write freelance, so then when you're coming to an organization, you're showing your commitment, your passion, some examples of your work, even if you haven't had the benefit of being in a fellowship yet or an internship. My only other advice would be similar to Mike's point, have the confidence to reach out. I respond to LinkedIn messages that people send me. Twitter, I'm willing to jump on the phone. Like, we all want to be able to give back, because to Mike's point, again, we were all in your shoes. We had to start somewhere. But don't be afraid to reach out, because I think you'll find people are very gracious with their time.
Right. And an important thought for the students that are listening to that too is be mindful of what your ask is, right? So if you're going to reach out to Wendy or to Mike or to Megan, it's not a reach out, hey, can you help me get a job? It's, hey, can you help me learn more about HEARST? What are the skills that I'm looking for? What are the areas of growth? Megan, I know that you said that there were 2 type of roles, like account executives, reporters.
Yeah, the ones that we would like to highlight. I do have a few more slides here. We have, of our newsroom careers that we are looking, actively looking for now, these are the positions. I did post the reporter position within the Yukon handshake.
Okay.
So that's up, but it'll go directly to our career site, which will come in the next slide, that you can also go to see all of our positions across newspapers, but then HEARST organization as a whole. For these active positions right now, local weekly reporters, so reporters covering our weekly publications like the Fairfield Citizen, Shoreline Times. We also have daily reporters as well for our daily publications. These positions, if there are any further questions, feel free to reach out to me directly, and I'm happy to talk to candidates about them further.
Megan, are you okay if I put your email in the chat?
Yeah.
I put that.
That's totally fine.
Okay.
For our advertising and marketing careers, so there are the ones that are currently open are going to be the advertising account executive in New Haven and Norwalk. We actually have 2 offices for that one. We also have sales development representatives and customer success managers. Just to give you some background here, for sales, like I think I mentioned this, very much looking for someone who may be that go-getter, driven, competitive, goal-oriented, any type of cold calling or prospecting, internship experience is great, or digital marketing experience, internship experience. The sales development representative is going to be more on the pre-sale side. So it's marketing our company out and creating inbound lead generation. Still a great, I think, entry sales position to grow within our organization. And then the customer success manager is going to be on the post-sale side. It's mostly account management, which is going to be project managing the fulfillment of our digital marketing products for the client, ensuring that the client's happy, making sure their ads are running correctly, and so forth. And then here's the contact information. And again, Kathy, you can take this and feel free to send my email over to any
Okay.
students that may be interested.
Perfect. Okay. Yep.
And I highly suggest following us as well on LinkedIn. We're often posting jobs, even Instagram and Twitter through the Hearst Corp.
Okay.
It's always great. Any, I think, company that you may be interested in, always following them on LinkedIn. There's a lot of engagement there through the recruiter's perspective.
Okay. And then if you could talk for just a moment about what that interview process is like. I know you said phone screen and then first and second rounds.
It's going to differ a little bit between our newsroom team and sales team, but first round is always going to be with the recruiter. It's going to be a 30-minute usually screen with one of our recruiters. If you do apply, we will reach out to those who will work on setting up the screen with. And then from there, if something to note is we do ask more behavioral based questions. I think that's something that's important to note that you can prepare for. So like show me a time when, or tell me about a time when you did this, to specific to the job. And then from there, it's first round with the hiring manager. For sales, we then move to a role play. So it's a pitch presentation, of a sales scenario. And then we also have you meet with the SVP of sales. So it's 3 rounds.
Okay. Mike, let me ask you a question here, because like especially on your LinkedIn, you talk a lot about the sales, and where you said sales where losing is not an option. When you're thinking about interviewing somebody, you're looking for that fire in the belly kind of a sales mentality. What do you think that a student like just starting out can show for that?
Well, I think, first and foremost, I think, Megan mentioned in the slide, the sales development representative. That's probably the target role for somebody just coming out of school. And what a sales development rep is basically doing is they're supporting sales by helping with lead generation. And so a series of sort of smart email campaigns with some phone follow-up to try to just get interest. It's almost more of a marketing job than it is a sales job for starters. But that's the type of thing. And again, for anyone looking for a sales career, I get a little bit nervous when I think about a company hiring a student right out of school and throwing them right into a direct sales role. Because, although that might feel good for the ego, it might not be the best development for a brand new person. The last thing you want to do is throw somebody into the deep end before they're able to really swim. And so my advice would be to find a role similar to what we're talking about with sales development, to come in and be able to give yourself a little bit of time to learn and understand the ropes and understand objections and understand the value proposition and the products and all of the things that you really need to in order to go out there and be successful in sales. And so that's really an on-the-job training that you really can't get, as a college student. You're just without the ability to kind of have been out there and done that type of work. It's going to be very hard to demonstrate that you have all of those skills. But back to, I think, your question, and that is just simply, can you point to things that you've done in your life that show competitiveness, that show, working in a situation that was complex or difficult and using your head to, come up with solutions or to influence or, anything that you can do to show that you have drive and you have competitiveness. I think, if you don't have a long resume with sales experience, you want to show that you are unafraid, you are willing to work, you learn fast, you're persuasive. If you were the, captain of your spelling bee team or a sports, somebody in sports, whatever it might be, those are the kind of attributes that usually will indicate to a hiring manager that sales might be a good path for this person.
Okay. And then Megan, maybe this is a question for you. The roles, so the account executive, sales development, when somebody joins the Hearst family, is it possible to move into different areas? So if you start in sales and you really want more like that specific marketing side.
We do have kind of like a hierarchy of sales where you maybe go into more strategic sale, focusing on larger spend businesses, larger spend clients. So there is definitely that growth opportunity there.
Okay.
And then sales development says development rep as well. We also have in some of our other markets, not Connecticut, but we have inside sales teams. In Houston, for example, that we're actually looking to recruit. If anyone is, open into other locations, starting up there and moving into a higher level sales rep role is also a possibility. But our SDRs sometimes will move into account executives, or moving into the marketing side of the business as well. We've had.
Okay. So I do want to ask this question. For the students that are on, I don't want to throw you under the bus here, but if you want to ask a question, you can either put it in the chat or you can just, unmute yourself, Jenna or Aiden, and ask a question.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. Hi, I'm Jenna. You kind of touched on this a little bit, but I'd like to know a little bit more about the company culture at Hearst and maybe what your favorite part about the company is.
Okay. Wendy, you want to take that one?
Yeah, sure. I think that it is a very positive, respectful culture that thrives in, the things that I discussed earlier. It's kind of like high performance, high trust, agility, innovation, but I think one of the things for me personally that I was really sort of taken by is the fact that Hearst was sort of born on the newspaper business. So it has a deep underlying passion for journalism. And although it has so many multiple offshoots that it's very, very successful at, to know that there's this deep running passion throughout the group for what we do, that was really something personally that was a great thing for me.
We also have a lot of fun, Jenna. It's where we certainly take our business very seriously, and we're all very, very motivated for the success of ourselves and the company. But there isn't really a day that goes by that, at least on the sales side of the house, there's not some kind of contest going. We constantly will be, we'll do sort of Zoom happy hours. Right now, normally we'd do regular happy hours, but we do them on Zoom now. I think that there's a lot of, people really root for each other. If you see the emails that go around, it's always congratulating somebody for doing something great. We have Employee of the Month that we give out every single month, and there's always a ton of people cheering for those folks. And it's just good. And one of the things that we're doing this year that we frankly should have been doing for a long time, but we haven't, is we've kind of upped our game in terms of wanting to do things in the community from a charitable perspective. And having groups of people go out. We haven't figured out yet what we're going to do because you can't really go out. But whether it's cleaning a park or whether it's helping, serve meals, whatever it might be, there's a tremendous amount of interest in people wanting to do that kind of stuff to reach back into the community and give back. And so I think you'll find, look, we have 350 people in the company. They're not all great, but for the most part, we try to create a great culture where people can have fun, they can learn, they can make some money, and have fun doing it.
Yeah. It's a pretty regular thing to have bunnies, cats, dogs. We even went to an animal farm one day to lighten up the news call. So we had 2 daily news meetings, and it was actually like live video of a cow. So just so you know, journalists can lighten up too. But Mike's right. It makes a big difference when people are smiling and having fun and loving what they do.
And just something to note here, I think Mike and Wendy, you mentioned more of that family aspect of your teams. And I've noticed that with you, Wendy, especially working with the editorial side and recruiting for you guys 100%. And then Mike became president and publisher for the Connecticut Media Group. And I think the amount of just bringing together the different divisions and departments in town halls or monthly newsletters that we send out, Employee of the Month, all of these engagement, especially when we're very remote right now, has been really, I mean, on my end, I've seen it, and I've, you know, it makes me proud to work for a company, obviously, like the Hearst Connecticut Media Group and Hearst as a whole.
Mm-hmm. And to those students that are watching this now and the ones that are going to be watching it later when it's not live, I just want to remind you, read the room, right? So you can hear us saying this stuff, but pay attention to the way that Mike and Wendy and Megan are getting along and the way that they're talking with each other, because that tells you even more than the words that they're saying, right? So knowing that Hearst is a company where they enjoy working together, you know, it's work hard, play hard. So that's a big part of what you want to think about when you're looking at the culture of a company. So did that answer your question, Jenna?
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you, Jenna.
Jenna, do you want to tell them what you're looking for?
Oh, yeah. So I'm a management major and I'm minoring in digital marketing and analytics. And so that was basically my area of interest. And I saw a couple different roles on the Hearst website that I'm interested in. I was looking at the advertising data analyst and the paid search campaign manager. I don't know if any of you know anything like more about those positions, and they're in New York.
They're in our New York, corporate office. I'm happy, Jenna, we can take it offline, and I'm happy to, one, take you through the opportunity that I do know in our digital team, and then also connect you with any recruiter who would be overseeing the other opportunities for you if it's a fit. Okay.
Yeah,
so
I would appreciate that a lot.
Hey, Megan, you should also think about customer performance manager for Jenna as well, because based on your background, that's not a job we talked about today, but that's a job where you are directly working with the sales team to support their clients, but you're doing it so from a product perspective or digital marketing perspective. So you'd be responsible for launching the campaigns, optimizing the campaigns, and then ultimately making sure that the customer was happy. So if that's of interest to you as well, I would again just shoot Megan an email. We don't have one open right this second, but those jobs do come and go quite often, and so there's an opportunity for you to get in that way. Well, that's what happens when you show up on the webinar. You get the inside information.
Yay!
And guess what? Your skill set also transitions to the newsroom, because a digital producer, you can take that data and analytics and even the marketing. There's some similarities there, you know, and you should maybe consider a path to journalism or digital experience.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Megan, did I get your email right? It's just mhughes@Hearst, right?
Mm-hmm. You got it.
Okay. All right. Any other questions that either my team wants to ask? Because I know quite a few of you are on here. Aiden, I'm just going to tell you that if you want to put something in chat, you're more than welcome to do that as well, because I know sometimes it's difficult to get the video and sound to be working. But anybody have anything else they want to ask? Hi, Judy.
Oh, hi. Hi, this is Judy. I work with Kathy's team as well. No, I just wanted to underscore and thank you, Mike, for talking about how important it is in a cover letter or an email or, you know, some sort of a content version to make an impact and to grab somebody like yourself. We had a series of workshops a couple of weeks ago, and you know, it's something that we stress to the students: take a little time, research the company, research even the person that you're writing to. So thank you for saying that, because we do stress that with students, but it's completely different if they hear that from you. So thank you. Thanks for mentioning that.
Yeah, I mean, anything you can do to be creative. There's a fine line between being a stalker and being somebody who is you know, trying to be creative and get in front of you, and you have to kind of know where that line is, because that can be a turnoff. But a professionally written introduction on LinkedIn or a well worded you know, cover letter of interest, is great.
Mhm.
And that kind of stuff, if you do that and then go through the normal channels of applying the appropriate way and all that, you're going to set yourself apart. And at the very least, what you're going to make sure is going to happen is somebody's going to look at your resume if you go to that length. And so do that, but don't start sending chocolates to people's homes and stuff like that where it crosses the line of being a little weird.
I think
Megan,
another
is there anything that when you're like looking at applications, right, is because sometimes there's like a common trend, like, well, you're seeing like students just tend to misunderstand something about the company, or when they're applying, they tend to get something wrong. Is there anything on that side that comes to mind?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
Yeah. So HEARST, like when candidates are applying to HEARST,
Yes.
do you think that they get the company, that they really understand who you are, what you do?
Well, a lot of times people think we're a car rental agency. So those ones usually don't get very far. But I think I do think a lot of people don't understand that we are a huge global company with 360 business, and most people think about it as a magazine. Think of the Hearst magazines. You think of 17 magazine or Elle or Car and Driver or whatever it might be. So a lot of times you might get a cover letter, you might get some kind of introductory note that shows that they reference Hearst, but they really didn't take a lot of time to really understand who they were sending the note to and what the content was. And so I do think it's important, if you are going to, do it out, make sure you do a little bit of research, make sure you know who you're talking to and what division they actually work in and what they do. Versus just sort of, hey, it's Hearst, they're a magazine company, and I'm just gonna, write some stuff and hope that somebody gets back to me. Just be thoughtful.
And there are so many different divisions of us, right? So really tuning in to, if you're applying to Hearst Connecticut Media Group, I do receive applicants that may think it's part of other, maybe the magazines for advertising, which is fine. And there's a lot of intermingling between our magazine and newspaper recruiters, but just be kind of thoughtful of that when applying. Okay.
All right. So Megan, if you had to have one skill you're looking for, what would you like to see?
So I think passion is going to be a great thing for anyone coming into our organization at Hearst. I think all of us are very passionate individuals about what we do, or the communities that we serve, or the news that we're reporting on, or our clients or our advertisers, right, our customers. So having the passion is important. And I do it within our recruiting, our marketing, and the passion that I have for Hearst, and hopefully finding a fit for candidates within our organization.
Wendy, how about you?
I would say the same word, but what I would
No,
say,
you can't.
But I'm going to cheat. So what I would say though is that understanding, if you're coming to us as a student, passion is important, because I can't build that for you, but I do have an expectation that I'm going to have to help you with your journey and build your skill set up. So I think when having that sort of natural curiosity and all of that good stuff and the passion, and I really want to do this, then understanding, like, one of the first questions I ask is, what do you think you bring, to the role, but also what are you looking to us to help you grow? And I think that when people, say, hey, well, I'm really good at this, but I want to elevate this. And then I basically respond, well, here's what Hearst Connecticut can do for you, because I think it has to be a two-way street.
Yeah. I think that speaks volumes to who you are as an employer and as a person when you're asking the question, what are you hoping to grow?
Right. Because people want to be better at what they do. They want to learn. And more people are coming through the interview process. And I've just gone through dozens of interviews, where they're turning the table on us and saying, hey, what are you going to do for me? And I think that's right. What training programs do you offer? What mentorships, what is the diversity of the company? And I think that's really healthy, because that investment in them is something that should be a big part of their employment with us.
Mhm.
So, and the other thing I would add to what was being discussed earlier is I also find it very helpful to get to know the candidate a little beyond the cover note. So a lot of people are building their own websites now, even if it's very simple, but somewhere where I can go to see their clippings, like at newspaper articles that they freelanced, or, you know, even their social media, which tells a story. But it's kind of like one place to learn more about that individual. And I often try to take the time to prepare before the interview so that I can get a sense of, you know, who I'm going to be speaking to.
Right. That makes a huge difference too. All right, Mike, save the best for last here.
Yeah,
What's the
no,
good-
I think that Wendy and Megan hit it hard. And well, I think the one word I would add to it is, and it's not easy because it's hard to be this without the experience, but confidence.
Hmm.
And if you come in, even if you're 21 years old and you come in for the interview, and maybe if you don't know everything, you know, a good, strong, smart, confident person is somebody that the three of us are going to look at and say, this is somebody I can work with. This is somebody I can develop. They believe in themselves. They have the raw skills. And now it's a question of just filling in those blanks and letting that person blossom. And again, I know it's easy to say have confidence, but if you don't have confidence, how do you get confidence? And the way to get confidence is through preparation. And if you spend the time to prepare and you do your research and you understand who you're talking to, what the company is, what the position looks like, and then know a little bit of the buzzwords and all that kind of stuff, you'll be able to go in there and be a lot more comfortable in that conversation versus showing up and, you know, being ready for the, you know, the standard, what's your strength, what's your weakness, if you were a flower, what would you be, and all these stupid questions. Go in and have a plan and have that confidence to back it up. And that's the kind of attributes that I know that we look for, because we look at someone like that and say, we can take this person and mold them into something.
Yeah. And Jenna, I know, I mean, you and I have had conversations about like what you're looking for and your career interests. And I think the confidence that you have to show up today, to ask questions, to engage in the conversation, it does make a difference, right? It really and truly does make a difference when you say, I'm going to take whatever time I have in my day and I'm going to spend it with a company that I want to learn more about. And see if
Jenna,
it's a
you
good
just
fit.
got a 3-on-1 situation with three, you know, pretty established people.
Yes,
And
you
I can tell you, if your resume comes through, you're going to get a special look from us.
That is true.
There's a challenge thrown down, Jenna.
Well, thank you for all meeting virtually to share information about your company and your experience. So it's nice to meet you all.
Well done.
Cool.
All right. Well, listen,
Thank you.
Megan, Wendy, and Mike, I thank you so much for taking the time and for being so genuine, right? For just really sharing insight with us and for sharing, you know, the details that students need to know how to be a strong candidate, but also how to be a good person and a good colleague and a good human. So anything that UConn didn't do for you on the flip side, Megan, please reach out and let me know. Wendy and Mike, I sent you my LinkedIn connections. And I put your contact information in here, and I definitely encourage students to be using the resources that have been offered here today.
Great. Well, we want to help. We want to help people in Connecticut, and I know it's not easy getting jobs these days and coming out of school, and so it's our pleasure to help support you as well. And you know, hopefully, this is the beginning of a longer relationship, and you know, we'll see where it goes. All right. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Take care. I'm going to stop recording now.